Konnichiwa or good day to everyone, especially to ma'am and my classmates. Hello, this is Layalin M. Gumban, your reporter for this morning, straight from Mati City, Davao Oriental. My topic for this morning is about extension systems in Japan. Japan, by the way, is also called as the land of the rising sun in Asia. Welcome to Japan, everyone. The contents of this presentation is all about Japan and its agriculture. Second is history and early extension efforts in Japan. Legal basis and principles in extension organization. Organizational structure and roles of extension service in Japan. Main features of extension in Japan. Funding support. The strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Best practices. Partnerships and collaborations, public and private, conclusions, and finally the references. Before we dig into the extension services of Japan, let's get to know Japan first and its agriculture. I have in here the basic information about Japan. Japan is a country located in the East Asia, and the formal country name is Nippon Kuko or Nihon Kuko, and the capital city is Tokyo. The national flag by law is Hinomaru, a red sun on a white background, symmetrical top to bottom as well as left to right. The national anthem is Kimigayo, which is derived from the traditional Japanese song written in the Heian period 794 to 1185. Here is the flag of Japan and, of course, their map. The total area of Japan is 377,960 square kilometers. Japan's 2020 population is estimated at 126,476,461 people at mid-year according to the UN data. Japan population is equivalent to 1.62% of the total world population. Their official language is Japanese, although English is used at upmarket hotels and restaurants that cater for foreigners, although the use in general is extremely limited. Japan is a crescent-shaped archipelago consisting of four main islands, namely Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu, and of a few thousand and small islands with a total area of 377,907 square kilometers. The country is mountainous, with forests accounting for 66% of the total area and arable land 13%. Talking about agriculture, forestry, and fisheries of Japan, farming was the most popular industry in Japan until the end of war. During the period of economic growth post-war, the number of farmers declined. Recently, some construction companies and food processing companies have entered agriculture, and branding produced by locality is booming. In the recent years, with the cooperation from the government, a lot of effort has been put into exporting Japanese agricultural products. The main agricultural produce of Japan is rice, vegetables, and fruits. Raw silk, cabbage, rice, sweet potato, tea, and hops are produced in large quantities compared to other nations. So these are their produce, samples of their produce. We have cabbage, and then this is called the hops. And of course, they have other plants also. Furthermore, they have their market structures, which is very prominent and very beautiful to look at. Of course, you can see the market there. We have different types of fruits, vegetables, and other wet market goods. Further, these are some of the pictures of the Japan produce, and they have some visitors from all over the world. These are some of the pictures of their greenhouses. On the other hand, poultry is the most thriving produce amongst livestock. Domestic self-sufficiency of eggs was 95% in the year 2012. In addition, self-sufficiency of chicken was 66%, with a market opening up to imports. Beef sufficiency dropped to 42%, and milk and dairy self-sufficiency is 65%, and pork, on the other hand, is 53%. Aquaculture or fish farming technology was developed to cover the decline in the fish catches. The farming of tuna and eels from eggs was once considered to be impossible. The success in this farming has attracted interest from around the world. The most common aquatic farm produce of Japan is seaweed, scallops, oysters, and yellowtail. Here are some examples of their aquaculture technology and poultry production. Now let's talk about the history and early extension efforts in Japan. Extension work in Japan was first started by farmers' organizations and later it was taken up by the government. Before the Second World War, the cooperatives used to be the main agency for agricultural extension. They employed the agricultural experts who worked directly under the village cooperative. He looked after most of the needs of the farmers. After the World War, an extension organization in the American pattern has been introduced in 1948. According to Zakaria and Nagata, since the end of World War II, Japan started to embark on a concerted effort to revitalize its agriculture sector in order to boost production to meet the escalating demands for food. The central and prefectural governments worked closely to enhance the training of farmers to promote their technical and managerial skills and to ensure sustainability, and this was carried out through the activities and programs by the Agricultural Extension Services. The Japanese extension system for agriculture, which started in 1948, was meant to help farmers acquire useful, appropriate, and practical knowledge in the domain of agriculture. This system was adapted from the American extension system, but modified when applying it in Japan, so that the extension works could well function in Japanese culture for local needs and requirements. The Japanese agriculture has thus far been successful and sustainable. This suggests that farm decision makers have either been using more and better information or becoming more knowledgeable. As of 2010, there were approximately 7,000 officers in Japan, each of them belonging to a prefectural government. The Japanese extension system for fisheries started in 1953. As of 2012, there were approximately 460 extension officers of fishery in Japan, each of them belonging to prefectural government, just as extension officers of agriculture. Now let's talk about the legal basis and principles in extension organization in Japan. The legal basis of extension in Japan started in Agricultural Improvement Law of 1948. It is composed of two principal elements: promotion of research and experiments in agriculture and the promotion of agricultural extension work. There are three principles followed in extension organizations in Japan. First is a complete separation of the regulatory and service duties from the educational aspects of extension. Second is giving prominence to the home improvement. Third is joint financing by the national and provincial governments. Now let's talk about the organizational structure and roles of extension service in Japan. Now let's talk about the organizational structure of the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries of Japan. By the way, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries is also called the MAF. There are two divisions of the MAF: the Research Division and the Education Division. These divisions form part of the whole ministry. The MAF now has the Extension Division, which comprise the National Agricultural Extension Council, the Women and Life Division, which coordinates the work prefectural directorates of extension. Now, these two comprise the national level part. Next is the prefectural level. The prefectural level consists of the Prefectural Agricultural Extension Council, the Prefectural Directorate of Extension, where there are 47 prefectural officers. Now, after the prefectural level, the information will be given to the extension advisors. There are approximately 700 subject matter specialists, and next, after the subject matter specialists, there's the agricultural extension centers. the 7 agril, and 1 home improvement center or improvement advisor per community. Approximately, there are 600 agricultural extension centers in the country. After that, the technology or the innovation is forwarded to the rural local leaders, the village councils, and the cooperatives. Finally, the end of the chain is the farm families or the farmers themselves. So this is now the organizational structure of agricultural extension in Japan. We can see that it is very well modified and structured in a manner that is very organized, and the information has been given in a step-by-step manner. Now this is another one of the organizational structure of extension services in Japan. Just the same, but there are the lines are quite different. This is still the MAF, and then we have the research institutes at the national level and the prefectural research institutes on the other side. The research institutes and the prefectural research institutes will coordinate with the prefectural government, and the prefectural government will now coordinate with the different extension centers. The extension centers will be the ones who will give the advices to the farmers. In such manner, the farmers would be able to request through the extension centers going to the prefectural government. The prefectural government will give the advices to the extension centers. There are a total of 369 centers in the country. And on the other hand, there's this Farmers Academy, which is also one of the cooperators of the prefectural government. Let's move to the different responsibilities of the different components of the organizational structure. In the national level, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries is responsible for conducting research, extension information collection, land reclamation, policies on agricultural products exports, imports, and other regulatory works. The Extension Division has 3 sections, mainly the extension education, and home improvement. The Extension Division coordinates the work of prefectures and runs 54 training centers for farm youth. Its main function is pre-service and in-service training and rural youth programs. The Extension Education Division takes charge of affairs such as the qualifying examinations for subject matter specialists, production of slides and films, radio programs, and evaluation of the local work. The Home Improvement section covers the food, clothing, and home management problems. The prefectural level, on the other hand, is responsible for the planning, training, and appointment of the local advisors, supply of equipment, and plans for extension work, and deals with administrative matters of local functionaries. The subject matter specialists, on the other hand, are paid from the national budget. They belong to one of the 23 special fields like rice, soil, livestock, and others. They are the link between the farmers, farm advisors, and research stations. The SMS, or the subject matter specialists, are placed in Prefectural Directorate of Extension. In the local level, the farm advisors and home advisors are the local government officers. They are paid half by local and half by the national funds. The extension work in Japan is organized for what is called an area. An area consists of about 3,000 families with about 7,000 hectares of land. The local staff assists and guides the farmers in farm management and all aspects of home economy. The village local leaders are selected to be the promoters of the extension work. Japan's 30 national research institutes have networks with 255 prefectural research institutes and experiment stations through the 6 national agricultural experiment stations. Since the national government does not directly offer extension services, agricultural research extension linkage in Japan operates at the prefecture or state level. It is a bottom-up management system in which decisions on linkage activities are taken at prefectural level without the direct involvement of the national officers. So, the research extension linkage involves the use of subject matter specialists, technical committees, joint study meetings, and staff exchanges between prefectural research and extension organizations. Farmers' problems and needs are compulsorily sourced by district, extension centers from farmers, agro-cooperative societies, schools, and town or village administrative offices. The local needs will be identified by extensionists are supplemented with those identified by researchers and subject matter specialists. So as you can see, the need-based extension is very imminent in Japan. The local needs will be identified by both the extensionists and supplemented by the researchers, the subject matter specialists, and of course, the people in the community. In general, decisions on the selection of farmers' problems or needs as annual research themes are finalized at the prefectural level by a committee comprised of researchers, administrators, subject matter specialists, extension workers, farmers' representatives, and knowledgeable persons. Although national officers are not directly involved in this process, they make input by putting forward unresolved research themes that have been referred to them and by highlighting policy directives on research themes from the National Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries. The Japanese research extension system is characterized as a bottom-up approach with prefectural research. So meaning they are using the bottom-up approach in their needs assessment and of course in the delivery of their services. Japan's research extension linkage system offers a range of opportunities for farmers' participation in joint decision-making on research themes at the prefecture level. The strong research extension linkage in Japan can partly be attributed to the exchange of staff between agricultural research and extension organizations, enabling personnel to work for a specified time in each other's establishment. Now, this is the role of agricultural extension service in Japan, to improve agricultural production and to improve the standard of living in rural areas. The national government financially supports 40% of the prefectural extension services. Before going further, let's dig the information about the Extension Information Centers, which started in the year 1988. It was established from the need for information management within the Agriculture Extension Service. The Central Information Center manages a computer network system called the Extension Information Network, or also called as the EINet. At the prefectural level also, Information Center is maintained. The database of the system contains the news related to farm and home, market, weather, research results, statistical information, chemicals, fertilizers, machinery database useful for the advisors and the farmers. Now let's talk about the main features of extension in Japan. Due to high rate of illiteracy, extension teaching is readily accepted by the farmers. It functions through the agency of a Department of Agriculture and has no direct links with a research organization, except at the prefectural level through the SMS who are under the Extension Directorate. Extension is done by a team of farm advisors, approximately 7 to 9 members, in each of the local area. Each person serves on an average about 600 farm households. This permits a close contact between them and they can discuss problems of common concern and receive inspiration and help from each other. The representatives of local bodies have little control over extension, but adequate contact is provided informally through cooperatives which are powerful and comprehensive in nature. The extension is entirely educational and democratic with no coercive approach. The rural boys and girls, after completion of their 9 years compulsory education, may enter one of the 54 youth training farms for 1 or 2 years of practical training in farm and may become youth club leaders in their home communities. As of 2005, there are approximately 9,000 extension personnel working all over Japan at about 450 agricultural extension centers, research institutes of prefecture level, and others. In the recent 3 years, the number of extension personnel, however, has drastically dropped because of the difficult financial situations of both at the central and the prefecture governments. Under the changing situations above, the formulation of extension information activities by using computers has been more important than before for promoting efficient and effective extension activities. In order to improve the situations above, the Japan Agricultural Development and Extension Association, or JADEA, established the system that could share information possessed by most extension advisors in the year 1975. One function of the systems is to collect the case information of extension activities, or the CIEA, that is information on the achievements of extension activities based on the following: extension programs, information on extension methods, information on the technologies developed by farmers, and finally, the information on research findings and others from extension advisors. Another function is to provide information above to extension advisors. According to this system, extension advisors can quickly receive information on technical matters and information on extension methods from advisors in other prefectures. Besides, farmers can also look for the informative sites in other prefectures and receive specialized technical information from extension advisors in other prefectures also. On the other hand, the methods of both collecting and providing information have been drastically improving for about 30 years. Up until today, the methods of providing CIEA have been changing from snail mail, fax, and personal communication network to the Internet. The basic flow of collecting and providing CIEA from 1975 to 1990 is drawn and are explained as follows. The JADEA collects CIEA from extension advisors through the prefecture governments once a year. Each prefecture government provides the CIEA to JADEA after having selected CIEA including information about special products that should not be informed to other prefectures. The JADEA now stores the CIEA after having classified with the categories such as crop, vegetable, fruits, and others. The publications with a list of the CIEA were made by the JADEA. Afterwards, the publications were delivered to all prefecture governments and extension centers. Extension advisors and the subject matter specialists request for the CIEA, which they wanted to receive by using telephone and letters after they had checked the publications. The copied CIEA was delivered to the extension personnel by snail mail. Around 1985, the use of fax started in many offices in Japan. Next was the use of personal communication network. The closed network, which was called the FVAN, Fukyu Value Added Network, and whose main purpose was communication among extension personnel, started in the year 1988. The rented space of the computers owned by the networking company was used for the FVAN until 1991, so that the main services of the FVAN were mail service and bulletin board services, also called as the BBS. In 1992, JADEA developed the Extension Information Network, or the EINET system, that is a personal communication network system. JADEA has had its own host computers and has been providing database services since then. In the year 2000, the new EINet system started so that users can access the system through the internet. So this started the use of the internet in Japan. At that time, many functions were added, including the iMode services, which users can access by using internet services of mobile phones. Besides that, users can search the CIEA with a thesaurus and receive CIEA attached with pictures and figures. In addition to the database services, the BBS services are actively used at present in the new EINet. A lot of technical information is exchanged among extension personnel. That is one example of question and answer on the countermeasures. Example: an information on the preventive measures for pests and diseases are frequently exchanged by attaching the pictures with actual situations of crops with certain articles. As of 2005, there are around 4,000 farmers participating in the local network system all over Japan. The system has been in operation for 10 years already. This system enables farmers not only to receive the specific cultivation information such as crop growing information, pests and disease forecasting information, and others, but also to communicate with extension advisors and farmers in other prefectures by using the nationwide forums. Besides the local network system, most of the extension centers in Japan are providing information to farmers, consumers, and others on the home pages of extension centers or the prefecture governments. An example of provided contents are, say, for the farmers, the technical information such as cultivation techniques, the usage of chemicals, weather information, and others. For the consumers, the public information such as the roles of extension systems, the activities of extension advisors, how to cook farm products, and other information. On the other hand, an increasing number of experienced farmers have recently been setting up their own home pages in order to make their farm's cultivation situations more transparent, such as the usage of chemicals, selling farm products through the internet, to directly communicate with other consumers, and so on. Now let's talk about the local network system and the home pages managed by the extension centers. The number of the farmers participating in the local network hasn't increased so much. Moreover, the farmers participating in most prefectures are very limited. Maybe some of the farmers were not able to communicate well with the internet. As for the home pages, the contents provided by some extension centers are poor, and information has not been frequently updated by some extension centers, so that there is no full-time staff responsible for the maintenance of the home pages. Moving on to the funding support. Now, the agricultural extension work is administered, supervised, and monitored by the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, or the MAP, while each of the 47 prefectural government practices its agricultural extension work in collaboration with the national government for funding support, which is also called the cooperative extension work. So, in here, it clearly specifies that the funding support is collaborated with the national government and also the cooperative extension work. The role-sharing arrangement between subsidies and the institutional fund is clearly stipulated in the figure in front of us. First is, the government will provide subsidy service which would amount to 1/2 or 1/3 of the whole project or the program. Next is, the funds will still be available if it is not enough through the Agricultural Improvement Fund, which is free of interest. Further, if the fund is still not enough, Agricultural Modernization Fund could be used at lower interest rates or free interest. Finally, if the funds are still not enough, The farmers will now use their own fund or private sector fund from the cooperative sectors. Now let's talk about the SWOT, or the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in extension services of Japan. The strengths include the the extension workers are well trained and well equipped before they are being placed in the fields. The cooperatives and farmers are very supportive in the conduct of the extension work of the government. The government has a very organized extension policy and system when it comes to extension delivery. Further, extension is focused on the following: assistance for creating techniques and production centers, advice for the improvement of management, and finally, support for forming organizations and activating rural areas. As previously stated, one of the problems of extension services in Japan, or the weaknesses, include the problems on the IT support, such as the EINet, the local network systems and home pages, where there is no full staff responsible for the maintenance of the home pages and the local network systems. Another one is the decline of usage of the IE-net system, since maybe some of the farmers are not that quite elaborate and technically supportive of the EINet system. The problems of the EINet system is that the number of CIEA collecting and providing has been moderately decreasing for 30 years. As the result, it is feared that they can't maintain the system, which enables extension personnel to process the common information. This is because extension personnel tend to receive information unilaterally, so that they have little intention of exchanging information with other extension personnel. On the other hand, the amount of usage of the EINet, such as the EI connection and article registration, has also been declining. It means that the need for EINet among extension personnel has also been decreasing. The reasons for the decline of usage of the EINet are considered as follows. Extension advisors can receive information to some degree by using only internet search engines such as the Yahoo, the Google, and others. No one had been taking care of most forums of the EINet, so that the system of board operators in most forums was abolished. The user interface of the new EINet, which started in the year 1999, has become worse, with the low performances such as the slow speed of database search and inactive communication between extension advisors and researchers. As for the opportunities, the Extension Service of Japan has very high rate of literacy, where the extension teaching is readily accepted by the farmers. The active partnerships and collaborations with other countries and stakeholders is very imminent. Another opportunity is the active support of the farmers and fisher folks in the extension services or activities of the government. Some of the threats in Japan extension are the following. Of course, almost always the climate change factors and the pests and diseases. If Japan increases its imports of agricultural products such as rice and wheat, this will lead to increased agricultural production in the US and Australia, where their products came from, where large-scale irrigation techniques are employed and cause problems such as soil erosion, salinization, and groundwater depletion. Okay, at this part, I'm going to give you the best extension practices of Japan, which I consider to be very useful and very worthy of emulating in the Philippines. First is, in Yamaguchi Prefecture, the agricultural extension work has adopted what is called as the project method, whereby a couple of extension workers, senior and junior workers, organized a team to implement a project for extension activities like disseminating technologies and organizing farmers. So in here, a senior and junior workers or some senior and junior workers would be able to conduct extension services directly to the farmers. Another one is the Japanese concept of ba. This means a shared space that serves as a foundation for knowledge creation for the promotion of active interactions, consultations, and exchanges between extension and the farmers. Meaning there's a shared space for the farmers and the consultants to exchange ideas. The Japanese concept of ba includes the on-job training for farmers through on-site and hands-on sessions and for extension advisors, which is widely practiced in most Japanese organizations. An open office concept where workers are placed closely together in an open office space, which helps to further enhance the OJT practices, thus allowing for ideas and experience to naturally flow between the people interacting together. This is also called as entrainment. Another one which is worthy of emulating is the training system for the extension workers in Japan. Before becoming an extension worker, one must undergo the herein qualifications and trainings. First is, he or she must be a university graduate, must acquire national license, just like us, must have participated in a 2 years compulsory training course with specific specialties, which ranges from vegetable, horticulture management, and other related studies. Another one, he or she must have attended the arranged variety of trainings based on the present needs of the people in the community. From the 4th year of service tenure, the extension worker can voluntarily participate in those trainings. After 6 years, the extension worker has the opportunity to become a specialist by passing various examinations provided by the government. Now let's talk about the partnerships and collaborations of Japan with other government agencies here and abroad. First is the Participatory Program on Agricultural Extension Methodology. This is in partnership with the government of Indonesia, headed by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or the JICA. These are the participants of the training. Another one is the Japan ASEAN Integration Fund, where the proponent is Kasetsart University of Thailand and the Department of Agricultural Extension, Ministry of Agriculture, and cooperatives. So this is a scholarship program, the Food Value Chain Short-Term Intensive Course at Kasetsart University in Thailand from Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. This is in collaboration, of course, with the Japan government through the Japan ASEAN Integration Fund. So, the funding now would come from the 10 ASEAN countries and, of course, the government of Japan, in collaboration with the ASEAN Food Industries Human Resource Development Association, Japanese private companies, and universities in ASEAN region, and of course the government in ASEAN member states. Another well-known partnership between the Philippines and Japan is the Japan Agricultural Exchange Council Alumni Association of the Philippines, also called as JCAP. This is composed of farmers who have successfully graduated from the Young Filipino Farmers Training Program in Japan, also called as the YFFTPJ, with the aim to share their knowledge to communities and other youth involved in farming. Through their annual gathering, they were able to set their plans for the next years, such as the development of learning sites, regular monitoring of members, and updating of registration in the Securities and Exchange Commission. Young farmers from all over the country will be undergoing an intensive 11-month on-farm training in Japan, As part of the Young Filipino Farmers Training Program in Japan, these individuals will be given the opportunity to enhance their farming skills and gain new knowledge on different technologies in agriculture. The Agricultural Training Institute is the implementer of the program. In conclusion, according to Zakaria and Nagata of 2010, the ability to generate and share knowledge among members of the organization is an integral factor that contributes to the success of an organization. Their study showed that the agricultural extension system in Japan actively promotes and facilitates the sharing of ideas and experiences between the extension advisors and farmers, as well as other stakeholders. The farmers have learned that agriculture is a risky business. Hence, they need to make accurate decisions based on real-life experience and specific knowledge to ensure that they could get the appropriate return on investment and to minimize the losses. They also need constant, accurate, and timely advice from the extension services and other advanced farmers. For the references, I have listed down the references for this report. Before I end my report, I have some videos for you in the Google Classroom for you to explore about the agricultural history of Japan and extension in Japan. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much for listening and God bless us all.